I hope you all wrote the pseudocode to find largest of three positive numbers. So let's go through this pseudocode as well. In the beginning, what we need to do, we need to start our pseudocode by typing the program name, program, and then we need to end with end keyword. Then what we need to do, we need to give some meaningful name for our program. So let's give the name of largest of So I have given the name of largest of three numbers. Now inside this two statement or two instructions, I'm going to write all the statements that are necessary to find largest of three numbers. So in order to find largest of three numbers, first thing is we need to somehow receive the three numbers to our program. Either we can use read or get those three numbers. So I'm going to read in1, number 1, and read number 2 and read number 3. In here, I have used only single statement to receive my three numbers. That is also okay when you are writing a pseudocode. Now what we need to do? We need to find out what is the largest of these three numbers. So first we need to use the comparison operation. That is, if I'm going to use if in1 is greater than in2 and in1 also greater than in3, then what will be the largest? If my number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 3, then largest should be the number 1, right? Largest is equal to n1, right? Because my n1 is greater than number 2 and also my n1 is greater than number 3. That means my largest should be the n1. Alright, so now we have do one comparison. If that condition is not satisfied, then what we are going to do? Then else, that means that this condition becomes false or this condition is not satisfied. Then what we are going to do? We are going to otherwise or else. Then what we are going to do? When it is otherwise, we are checking if n2 is greater than n3. Now my number 2 is greater than number 3. Then what going to happen? My largest should be the n2. Oh, why have assigned my largest to be n2? Because if I'm going to comes to else part, that means this condition becomes false or this condition's not satisfied. This condition is not satisfied means this condition should become false, right? Or this condition become false. If this condition become false means my n2 is greater than number 1. So if that's the case, if I am go to the otherwise clause, then I can check my number 2 is greater than number 3. If that's the case, if this one becomes true, that means my largest should be number 2. Then what I'm going to do? Else, if that is not the case, I'm going to set my largest to be number 3 and if. And similarly, I need to do in here. Okay. So now I have closed the end if clause as well. Because I have used the two if statement, two comparison statement. So I need to I have closed this one here, align with the same if clause, and I have closed the first if comparison operation by align with its if clause. So that is what I have done it here. And finally, what I'm going to do, I'm going to display the largest. So I hope now this algorithm is completed. But if you remember, so by just writing the algorithm is not enough. So you have to verify this algorithm is doing the right thing or not. So let's try to verify this one using few test cases. Now check this pseudocode with 3-number combination. So let's assume that this one becomes 1 and this one becomes 3. Then this is going to give us the right number as the largest number. So let's go through this pseudocode and find out what is the largest one. So this one I'm going to keep it back N1, N2, N1, N3. So that is what I had initially. So now let's go through this pseudocode and see or find out which one is the largest number. In the first statement or the first instruction of my pseudocode, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read my number 1, number 2, number 3. So my number 1 is 1, number 2 is 3, number 3 is 5. Then we need to go for comparison operation. That is, if number 1 is right now my 1 is greater than number 2. Is this condition becomes true? No, this becomes false. So that means actually we don't have to even check this one, because this, if AND condition one part becomes false, means entire thing will becomes false. So that means we can go to execute otherwise or else part. So I'm going to keep this one as N1 and N2. So now I'm not going to execute any statement in the if condition becomes true part. I'm going to execute otherwise part. Otherwise I'm going to check N2. My N2 is 3. My N2 is 3. My N3 is 5. Is this condition becomes true? No, 3 is not greater than 5. That's the condition become false. So that means I'm not going to execute even this one. Right, I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to execute this statement. Then I'm going to execute the else part of this statement, this if clause. So that is else part is I'm going to assign my largest to be N3. So that means my largest will get the N3 as my largest. That means I will assign my largest value as N3 value. N3 right now containing 5. Then I'm ending my first if clause. Then I'm ending my second if clause. So then I'm executing the last statement of my pseudocode, that is display largest. So this pseudocode will display the largest value as 5. Is this right? Yes. From this number 1, that is 1, 3 and 5, largest is 5. So that means we can assume that, or we can verify that this algorithm is doing the right thing. So that is how we can verify once we write a pseudocode. So that part also necessary. So once you verify it, so that output or that verified pseudocode or verified flowchart will be the input for the implementation phase. So I hope you all understand this problem as well. Let's go to our next example. So that is, you have to write a pseudocode to find the largest of n positive numbers. In the previous example, we have find the largest of 3 positive numbers. In this example, what you have to write is, you have to write a pseudocode to find largest of n positive numbers. So pause this video for a few minutes and write a pseudocode or come up with a pseudocode to find the largest of n positive numbers.